In a split 6-3 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court issued an emergency order allowing Virginia to purge suspected non-citizens from its voter registration rules. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Alina Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented. The High Court did not provide an explanation. The Supreme Court's decision comes after Virginia state officials reportedly removed the names of 1,600 non-citizens from voter registration rolls over the past few weeks. Now, it is federal law that non-citizens cannot vote, but then there's the concern raised by the Department of Justice that some of those removed from the voter rolls were citizens and just didn't fill out their DMV forms properly, or became citizens only very recently. The decision overturned an appellate court's ruling that said that taking names off of voter rolls within 90 days of an election violated a federal law. The Supreme Court will also have to make another decision that could potentially affect tens of thousands of voters in Pennsylvania. That is, whether a voter can submit a provisional ballot if they improperly submitted a mail-in ballot already. All of this comes amid an incident of suspected voter fraud in Pennsylvania. On Friday, the Lancaster County District Attorney said that detectives found fraud on 2,500 voter applications, including wrong addresses, wrong voter information, duplicate handwriting, and non-matching signatures. Former President Trump brought this up at a rally in Allentown, Pennsylvania on Tuesday.
If you have a mail-in ballot, get that damn ballot in, please, immediately, because they've already started cheating in Lancaster. They've cheated. We caught them with 2,600 votes. Now we caught them cold.
The Supreme Court did cross off one case on Tuesday, that of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who will remain on the ballot in Wisconsin and Michigan. He tried to take his name off the ballot in those states after dropping out of the race and endorsing former President Trump. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jack Bradley, NTD.
Former President Trump is about to take the stage at his rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin, with former Packers quarterback Brett Favre. Vice President Harris will be holding a rally in Madison tonight with musical artists from Mumford & Sons and The National. Joining me now to discuss today's developments in the campaigns are two guests, journalist and political commentator Scotty Nell Hughes and founder and CEO of Vic Fingerhut Campaigns. Vic Fingerhut, thank you both so much for joining.
My pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you both. So former President Trump is about to take the stage in Green Bay, Wisconsin, in a rally with former Packers quarterback Brett Favre. The border is a prominent focus at his rallies. He shows news clips and testimony from parents whose children were killed by illegal immigrants. I want to play a clip of what he said earlier about consequences which he would impose for killing an American or a law enforcement officer.
I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you believe that? To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement official.
Scotty, is this strong messaging resonating with voters in your opinion?
Absolutely, but let me just, and I hate to take over, but I have to point out one thing. It's not as much the rally tonight that he's going to make these points, because I think what he announced is extremely important, but especially considering I have such a great campaign strategist that's on with me today. It's how he got to the rally today that has to be shown. He showed up in a garbage truck that had Trump 2024 on it, showing that he is capitalizing on this gift that was given to him by Joe Biden when he called Trump supporters garbage yesterday. So it's not necessarily what he says at the rally tonight that's going to be the focus, even though he is going, this is obviously a very bold, it's a very ambitious announcement of a policy, but it's how he arrives that I think is going to be stealing the headlines. And I think that is why you're going to see this momentum continue through the rally, that excitement. Because we know something about Trump, that when he's winning, he will continue to get more and more bold, more and more boisterous in his policies.
I have to say, somebody sent me the clip right before we went on air, and he is quite the showman. That's for sure. Vic, what does Vice President Harris need to do to convince Americans she can protect the border and the American people from migrant crime?
Well, I don't think there's an awful lot she can do. I think people have made up their minds on this issue. It's like trying to get someone to persuade the Republican candidate to persuade the American people to protect Medicare. There are certain issues that work for one side, certain issues that work for the other. I think any discussion on Harris has said she's going to be tough on the border and all that stuff. They talked about a measure that would have been voted on if Republicans had supported it. I don't think it goes very far. People aren't paying that kind of attention to these 5 points. People have basic perceptions of the party, and their view is that the Democrats opened up the gates too much, and there's nothing she can say really other than she can be tough on it. I think her only hope is to move on to issues that people believe Democrats on. Health care, taking care of Social Security, Medicare, treating people decently at the workplace. That's where she should go. If she tries to engage the Republicans, engage Trump on border security, I think she's going to lose. I think it's just a loser, regardless of what the facts of the matter are. I am a little concerned about this whole area of saying that certain groups of people, immigrants, people from south of the border, contain a high percentage or a percentage of people who are criminals and dangerous. I don't know what the facts are. There clearly are people of that nature. I get nervous talking about any kind of vilification of any group as a whole. And, the reality is we're all immigrants. So, these kind of comments are not totally irrelevant to any of us. But I think politically, I think it's nutty for Harris to try and engage this issue. It's a loser for the Democrats. People don't believe it for the Democrats. And there's no question, I think Trump and the Republicans are scoring points all over the country on this issue. And I think that's the reality. So,
Scotty, I'll give you a moment to weigh in on that. But first, I want to play a clip. The vice president was quite busy today. She continues to rally tonight in Wisconsin. She made a campaign stop earlier in North Carolina and Pennsylvania. I want to play a clip of what she said in North Carolina earlier.
I pledge to seek common ground and common sense solutions to the challenges you face. I am not looking to score political points. I am looking to make progress. And I pledge to you, I will listen to experts. I will listen to those impacted by the decisions I make and to people who disagree with me.
Oh,
Scotty, I talked to a lot of folks on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans.
Oh, more
theme
words,
Democrats
Charlotte.
who are supporting Harris is that they think she will be a unifier. How do you think former President Trump would outdo her, if you will, to be a great unifier for our country?
Well, you cannot look at what he's already done within the Republican Party. I mean, to think that 1 out of every 4 African-American males under the age of 50 are Trump supporters are numbers that you would have never, statistic you would have never heard before in the past. I mean, let's remember, this is the party that put women into binders. And now all of a sudden you have a strong coalition of women supporting Trump, also Latinos for Trump. All these demographics that in the past, I think the Republican Party sadly rode off and just kind of stuck to the same level. This Trump has been able to expand. A lot of those people think that it's because, and we can go everything from the individual issues like pro-life, where Trump might not necessarily come out and say he's 100%, he does not want a federal abortion ban, but he wants to give it to the states. That might have made the pro-life people angry, but it's more angry, but it's better than what the other side has to offer. So I think the diversity that Trump is bringing into his party, a party that has always been very rigid, category textbook, he's now expanded it and actually brought in groups that we never thought we would see in our party. I think that's what he's going to do to the country. People always say, well, he's a bully. Well, he's a bully to the bullies that exist, unfortunately, in politics today. And when you look at what is going on in the Democrat Party, where all they did is they used verbiage and they catered to those demographics just with their words, but the policies never backed it up. You never saw life in the African American community getting better. You have not seen education getting better. You have not seen immigration laws and the immigration services getting better. So I think people are tired of the talk and they actually want to see the actions. And that's where I think Trump is able to make some major strides with these different demographics. The Democrats, they can't defend their position in the past 4 years. So therefore, moving progressively forward, as Kamala Harris speaks of, she's moving forward from her own agenda, from her own administration.
Vic, I'll give you a chance to respond, but also let us know how you think that the vice president, if elected, would be a great unifier.
Well, I think, frankly, after elections are over, I think most political leaders in most countries want to bring people together. You know, this is the last week's kind of rhetoric. We're not in for competition. We want to be friends with everybody. We want to represent. Do you ever hear anyone saying, I only represent a small number of people in the country? Everybody says we're going to represent everybody. And I think in a very real sense in America, by and large, this does happen. I mean, we're not talking about the behavior of some other countries where you engage in mass arrests of your opponents, we put in jail, we do all that kind of stuff. I think a little sharp rhetoric in the course of a campaign is part of, I hate to say it, but it's part of the American tradition. You go back to the arguments with Jefferson and Burr and Hamilton, they make this stuff that we're doing now look like child's play. They actually end up fighting duels. They end up having guys getting beat with with canes in the United States Senate. So, you know, American politics and I think democratic politics, but democratic politics in a country like the U.S. will get rough and tumble. But I don't see that as a great threat to our society. And I think the day after the election, whoever wins, both of them will at least make a major effort to try and govern well and help most people, because that's the only way you get reelected. So I have a lot of faith in this system. I think we've had a great system. It's rough and tumble. That's democracy. You want order, you go to a Chinese or Soviet gathering and everybody nods in agreement. No one disagrees. Everything is very pleasant and comfortable, but it's very non-democratic. And I don't think most Americans would look forward to that kind of political system. So
it's an important reminder. Scottie Nell Hughes and Vic Fingerhut, really appreciate you both sharing your insights today.
Yeah.